Conor McGregor has been charged with 3 counts of assault and 1 count of criminal mischief by police in New York. He was taken into custody. He presented himself at a police station in Brooklyn. There had been reports, indeed quotes from Dana White yesterday saying that an arrest warrant was out for Conor McGregor. It appears that that wasn't the case, and it's sort of head-scratching as to why he would say such a thing when it's blatantly not true. But Conor McGregor presented himself to police in Brooklyn, and he's due to appear in court in New York later today. One further addendum to that as well. That's been confirmed with the NYPD this morning, and a second man has also been charged. Cian Cowley, another MMA fighter from Dublin, 25-year-old, also 1 charge of assault, of criminal assault, and 1 charge of mischief. So that is the latest in that case. I think we can bring you some footage of the incident at the Barclays Center in New York last night, certainly in the last 24 hours. You can see it here on your screens, where Conor McGregor and his entourage get access to the Barclays Center. This is the team which includes Michael Chiesa and I think Artem Lobov, only if I'm correct, that had boarded that bus. And obviously there had been some sort of a row that had broken out previously between Lobov and Khabib.
Open the fucking door. Open the door. Ali, ciao, Ali.
You can see McGregor. All right, some pretty interesting events unfolding in the US overnight, as I'm sure you have been hearing. So we want to discuss some of that. But first of all, to give you a little bit of a background to exactly what's going on, in case you've paid absolutely no attention to the story up until now. It involves Conor McGregor. This is in relation to UFC 223 that is taking place at the Barclays Center in New York over the weekend, and that was the centre of the attention over the last 24, 48 hours or thereabouts. So the backstory here is that Conor McGregor is best buds with a fighter called Artem Lobov, who UFC aficionados will be very familiar with. He was on the card for UFC 223, but he had a row with another fighter, Khabib Nurmagomedov, during the week at a hotel in New York, and it's from that essentially the rest of the story has followed. So Conor McGregor, after that, arrives in New York for whatever reason, and we might be able to establish that in just a few moments, but he's given access to the Barclays Center, and he and his entourage essentially go nuts. He throws a hand truck at the bus that's holding Khabib, amongst other fighters and team managers and fighter managers, promotions people. A different fighter on that bus, Michael Chiesa, is hit by some flying glass as a result of something that's hit the bus, some broken glass there, and he's now been pulled from that fight due to his injuries. So Lobov gets also pulled from that card. We're sort of assuming that that's a punishment for his potential involvement in this. McGregor then, after that, at some point last night, turned himself into NYPD. No charges as yet, we were told, have been filed. Dana White, in the meanwhile, had come out with some erroneous information that there had been an arrest warrant out for McGregor. It turns out that that was untrue, as far as we can tell, and we do wonder why you would do that. But we do have some information that's arrived from New York in the last little while. Adrian Finnegan, our own Adrian Finnegan of 98FM News, has been speaking with the NYPD, who've confirmed that Conor McGregor is in custody, that at about 2:30 last night, our time, he turned himself into the NYPD. Charges are pending, we're told, and the district attorney will review those charges. That process, we're told, will start at midday Irish time. So that's what's happening in the case. To discuss it a little bit more, we're joined on the line by our own Niall McGrath, who's in New York covering this for Severe MMA. Good morning to you, Niall, or good night.
Yeah, I don't know what time it is, lads, to be honest with you. At this rate, I've been up for the last couple of days, but I hope you're well. Let's
strip this back a little bit. What was Conor McGregor doing in New York?
Well, yeah, he was always going to come over for this fight. Artem's been a long stable mate of his. They've cornered each other over the years. The word I got from Artem, I was actually on the same flight as Artem coming over on Tuesday, and it looked likely that he was going to be arriving in on Saturday. I don't think the UFC expected to come in as early as he did come in. So it's very interesting that he did come in after the incident, as you mentioned there, went down on Tuesday when Artem arrived. Obviously that altercation, as you mentioned, with Khabib Nurmagomedov in the hotel. 9 fighters to 10 fighters surrounded Artem when he arrived in the hotel from Khabib's camp. And Habib and Conor have had a long-running history of dislike on social media. And, obviously the narrative is, Conor's getting stripped of the title. Habib is potentially going to win that lightweight title on Saturday night. So it all stems from that. There's been a big history. But, you can't condone the actions of today. It was absolutely disgraceful behaviour from Conor and the rest of the guys involved in the incident.
So what you're saying is there is some sort of, albeit maybe slightly peripheral, history between Khabib and Labov?
Well, I'm not sure what was said. Effectively, Artem was supposed to be doing some media, as far as I'm aware, with certain outlets over the past 2 days, and they were cancelled. So, I don't think anyone knows what was said in that altercation between Artem and Habib. But, I asked Habib that today in the media scrum. Habib said, I don't know what happened, completely brushed it off. But, he obviously knew what happened. So it's something the UFC, Habib and Artem are obviously not willing to talk about. And we've seen the reaction today, which was horrific, to say the least.
I guess people are trying to figure out, and I'm definitely including myself in this, whether this is more WWE than real life. What's your take on it?
No, it's not. As far as I'm aware, Dana mentioned it earlier on that, there was someone that let the entourage into the arena, and I believe that very much to be the case from what I've learnt. You can't script things like that, especially when, fighters are getting injured. We've seen this evening, obviously, Anthony Pettis and Michael Chiesa's fight fall off. Michael Chiesa was in the hospital. He sustained a few cuts on his head. And that time he needed to cut weight. He wouldn't have been able to make the limit of 155 pounds for, what time is it here now? It's 2 a.m. So that's like 11 a.m. is the limit. The weigh-ins are on from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. here local time. So that fight was offered at a catch weight. Pettis' team didn't accept. So that fight's off. And obviously Ray Borg got his eye injured from the glass. Also, that fight's off. And then Artem was removed from the card as well. So effectively, from this melee, we've had 3 fights fall off the card. And I'll tell you what, I was speaking to a number of fighters and coaches as well. One of them actually being in the Pettis camp, Duke Rufus. And, they're not particularly happy with the whole situation. Obviously, Anthony's a former UFC lightweight champion. Really wanted this fight to try and get himself back up the ranks. There's a lot of very unhappy fighters, coaches in the hotel down the road in Brooklyn. Yeah,
so, from McGregor's point of view, Niall, this is obviously the latest in a long line of things. There was the Bellator attack going back the way. There was the homophobic slur. There were other incidents along the way. The incident at the Dublin pub. This is obviously the latest of them. And so there's an infinite number of questions that follow after that. But are we approaching the end? Is this the end of McGregor's relationship with the UFC, for example?
Well, listen, you can't rely on what Dana White says. And I think, Dana's gone back on his words time and time again. So he's not the best man to come out and say things. He could change his mind tomorrow. But for me, and the reaction I've seen today amongst the community here, having spoken to some of the fighters and coaches, I think they're definitely going to make a stand. And I think they're not going to want Conor McGregor to stick around the UFC after the behaviour today. So I think the relationship might have become untenable here with Conor McGregor in the UFC.
Yeah, just looking around at the coverage of this, Niall, this morning, it's the lead story on ESPN this morning, despite the fact that ESPN have the coverage of the Masters. They're leading with this McGregor story, and it is quite possibly the biggest McGregor story since the Floyd Mayweather fight itself. So you start to look at the different parties involved with this, and the people who are going to survive undoubtedly are the likes of Habib, and his profile has been it's hugely enhanced as a result of this. Maybe not enhanced, but certainly it's a lot larger than it previously was. He has now penetrated the non-mixed martial arts audience. Everybody knows Habib's name now, if they didn't already know it. So this is almost a win for Dana White, despite the fact that he's coming down hard on Conor McGregor. He must be rubbing his hands.
Yeah, I think we've seen it over the last number of months. Their interim champion, Tony Ferguson, who unfortunately got ruled out of the fight last week. Dana very much played the Habib card in the build-up to this fight. It was evident the UFC wanted Habib to win and do the business over Tony. Tony was sort of pushed aside, dismissed by Dana White publicly, which I thought was absolutely pathetic and disgraceful. And you look at a guy like Habib, Russia, huge country, massive following in mixed martial arts. The feud between him and Conor, obviously on social media, has gained him a lot of popularity. But I think it's his brashness, his attitude, the way he fights, his style. The UFC, Conor McGregor's, tenure His fighting time has been very limited over the last number of years. So they have to produce these new stars. I think Khabib is very much the guy they're putting their money in.
Yeah, so that leads me to question, why has Conor McGregor got involved with this? We all know that he's not a complete idiot when it comes to hype. He knows exactly how to run a machine when it comes to hype, and he knows exactly that he's pouring fuel into the profile of Khabib here. So why is he doing that when he knows that he's essentially just taking the pie and allowing Khabib to share some of it?
Well, there was talk all week here of that fight potentially happening actually in December here in New York, Khabib and Conor. But I just don't think there's any way back after this. Especially with the police getting involved now. What Dana said, and I know Dana changed his mind as I've said, but it's just gone too far at this rate. We've had incident after incident after incident. And I don't think the community here, as I said to you, are going to be willing to accept that behaviour anymore. There's a lot of unrest around Brooklyn here tonight amongst the MMA community that are here in Brooklyn. And I just think, as I said earlier on, I think it's becoming untenable. I'm not so sure how long Conor McGregor is going to hang around the UFC for.
All right. Niall, that bed looks like it could do with a bit of sleeping in, so get some kip before you. Another full day of coverage, I'm sure, for you tomorrow when you wake up the other side on Friday, New York time. Thanks a million for joining us.
No problem, lads. Appreciate it. Take care.
Yeah, good stuff there from Niall McGrath, who hopefully is asleep at this point. We just recorded that just before we came on. There has, of course, you may be surprised with this, been a lot of support for Conor McGregor as a result of what's happened over the last couple of days. A lot of people coming out, a lot of people feeling very empowered by this. We'll run you down through a few of the tweets that we stumbled upon when we searched Conor McGregor's name on Twitter. Here is George Panterov, who says, I was never a big Conor McGregor fan until today. I got to say, this is loyalty, risking his own fame and fortune to stand up for one of his own. That deserves respect, no matter what the bureaucrats / journos say.
Pesky journos, Kenny.
You lot.
Nothing.
Bosh. Straight at you, you two. Take it.
Pesky
Take
journos.
it.
Nothing says respect like taking a hand truck and throwing it at a bus and injuring people inside the bus, does it?
It's somebody else's fault. Like that's the short story here, isn't it? I mean, it's like Trump sort of style. It's not my fault. Like that, I've done all these things. You're talking about them, so you must have something to do with it.
Yeah. Miguel Gonzo says, many are saying Conor McGregor has snapped. All I saw was the most loyal friend ever. Day before, Khabib's team, 10 plus, cornered Conor's sparring partner / friend, bullied and slapped the guy. Conor flew to NY from Ireland to put a beating on Khabib and team after UFC did nothing. Yeah, because that is exactly what happened, Miguel. Nothing else happened at all. Nothing at all. Coys, COYS, come on you Spurs, I presume, says, if you wouldn't pull a Conor McGregor and jump on a jet with 20 of the boys to have my back, I don't want you in my circle. Well, I guess that's very unfortunate, Coys. I guess I won't be in your friend circle anytime soon, which is a real shame. I really wanted to become your friend. Megan Rogers on Twitter says, Conor McGregor flew from Ireland to New York just to confront Khabib and his loser friends for harassing his teammate. Literally flew across the Atlantic Ocean to beat someone's ass for his friend. That's a notorious MMA. Want to be pals. Sorry, you're clearly a very inspirational person there. I'm surprised you actually need any more pals, but hopefully Conor will respond to your tweet there and indeed you do become friends. Mike Headley says, if they arrest Conor McGregor, the whole country of Ireland is coming back to take him back. Unfortunately, I think I'm busy that day when Ireland is going over to take Conor McGregor back. Dane Gibson says, Artem, Khabib threatened me and says he's going to fuck you up as well. Conor McGregor says, getting fight over tomorrow morning and we'll effing wreck the joint. Laughing emoji, laughing emoji, laughing emoji, laughing emoji, laughing emoji. Everyone crying about this is just upset they don't have a mate that would do that for them. Laughing emoji. Yeah, I'm clearly very, very jealous of your friendship situation and the friends that you possess. I clearly don't have any friends like that can do that for me. So jealousy is the main emotion.
You don't know. The point about it is you don't know until that moment in Tralee where you need somebody to fly down and be by your side.
Cologne. Get into was that German city that
Hamburg.
Oh, Hamburg.
Yeah,
you get yourself into a sticky situation, Hamburg as people do.
Kenny be on the first flight.
First Ryanair, as long as it wasn't too pricey. Anything under €50, bang them there. Luggage allowance, obviously, that factor there in as well.
A few comments coming into this in the back of that conversation. Touch of class is the couple of sentiments from a few different people here, including the Jessica Fletcher fan club. Kenny, I don't know, are you a member of the Jessica Fletcher Murder, She Wrote?
Oh, I was more in the afternoon. Clumbo. Yeah. I was more Clumbo, Peter Falk in the afternoon.
Just one more thing.
Yeah, it was Clumbo, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I was
one more thing.
Is that it?
That's how you used to always say he'd be.
Oh, yeah,
the finger went up.
The finger went up.
The last minute and go, just one more thing, and then he unlocked the whole case. Like,
yeah, good shout.
Andrew Lansbury lived in Cork for a while. Just a bit of information for you there. Shane O'Connor says, lads, let's be honest about what happened. Dana White realised that the UFC had started to fall off the mainstream media radar, so he ran to the top of UFC towers, shone his Conor McGregor-shaped bat signal into the sky, and waited with bated breath for the stupid to ensue. It's this generation's WWE.
Doesn't sound as if two people are getting too upset in terms of what you've read out. There's obviously a lot of support. I'm not sure if that's a genuine cross-section of how people feel, but not too people. You're getting quite wound up yourself, Eoin, clearly, like when I'm listening to you, but not too many other people. Genuine bit of support from McGregor, and some people, you know, a little taken as a bit of a funny, like, and kind of running with it, but doesn't seem to me that initial kind of, oh, this is outrageous, this is a disgrace. I haven't heard a huge amount of that as yet. I
think he's done. I mean, what he's done is he shouldn't have done what he's done. It's pretty shocking behaviour. He's done worse things, though. Is the thing.
But if that's what's driving him, I couldn't get my head around this last night. The lads were throwing a few bits. I couldn't quite get a grasp of it. Like they're obviously listening to you and just a bit more of a feel for it this morning. I mean, if that's genuinely what's drove him, he's got a tight relationship with this fella like Artem, and he feels as if, you know what I mean, he needs to be there to offer some kind of support, and that's what's driving. That's where it's coming from inside him. It's not about, this is an opportunity for me to kind of promote myself and like grab the headlines type. If that's genuinely what's driving why he's jumped on the plane and got over there. In terms of throwing the stuff at the coach, yeah, obviously there's no argument about that. But if that's it, if it's a case, well, I need to show a bit, I need to be there to support me. I'm not happy with it. You know what I mean? In some respect, I think
there is another option. If that's your driving force, you pick up the phone or you fly to New York and you go to your mate Artem Labov. Yeah. I'm with you, man.
Yeah,
I've got your back here. We're in this together. Yeah. Let's go out and show them in the ring this weekend. We'll get this guy in the ring in the octagon. This is what we'll do. There is another option. It's not like either I'll be disloyal or I'll fly to New York and I'll try to kick the shit out of a bunch of people and throw a hand truck at a bus.
Clearly that's where he stepped out alone. But that's what I'm saying. If you're saying to me, if that's what's driving him to get on the plane and get over there, certainly, you should have handled it differently. But if that's what it is, to a certain extent, I have a bit of sympathy for those people who are saying, fair play. That's a great thing for someone like a friend or whatever. Like, you know what I mean? I've got your back type thing. We all know what that is. You know what I mean? Maybe not in these particular circumstances, but to obviously go down to the stadium and did what he did. He's crossed the line there, and he's going to have to suffer the consequences of it. Like, but he can't imagine that. I don't know what's in his head running over to that coach. You know, he's obviously going to pick up something. He's in his head, I'll throw this, bounces off the wall a little bit. The fact that we've all been there, not been there in this situation, but you know, in your head you think, oh yeah, this is going to go down great, and all of a sudden, whoosh, the window's gone in. Oh, this has gone pear-shaped, and what's going on?
But it wasn't like he picked up a football and he picked up a hand truck. By the way, I don't know how he picked up a hand truck.
That's pretty impressive, boy.
He picked up a hand truck and flung it at a bus. Yeah, I think he's expecting some shattered glass.
Yeah, but once he's committed himself, that could have been anything. He's run down what's here available.
One of the other things he picked up was like a crowd barrier, a huge big metal crowd sort of hold back the crowd barrier.
Yeah, I'm not disagreeing with you totally. Like, you know what I mean? I'm just trying to. Difficult to get inside the head of somebody at that particular moment.
Hey, hope you enjoyed that latest offering from Off the Ball. If you want to subscribe, and you should, check out just up here. All our latest stuff is just down here. Generally, knock yourself out.